Hello, I am D-Man, back with another Total Drama video. This time we're doing What If Duncan Did Not Blow Up Chris's Mansion? Now, in Total Drama All-Stars Episode 8, Duncan, he's trying to be a bad boy, and he keeps unintentionally doing good things, and so Duncan goes, I'm gonna be the baddest boy by blowing up a mansion, or a cottage, or whatever. Blows it up, he gets automatically eliminated and arrested for doing so. However, this time instead of him being eliminated here, he decides, you know what? Blowing up a mansion, or a cottage or whatever, is stupid. And so this is what today's scenario is going to be about. Now, the rest of All-Stars is the same still, so yeah, it's pretty much just going to be what's going to happen, what's going to change with these last 6 episodes. So I guess we might as well begin the video. Episode 8. Well now, Duncan doesn't blow up the mansion, so Duncan gets to stick around, I suppose. Alejandro still wins the challenge. Duncan was in the raft with Scott and Cameron, which went last anyways. So, Duncan ain't winning immunity. And besides, it doesn't even matter because all the votes in this episode are rigged against Cameron. And in canon, right, Cameron gets to stay because Duncan was already eliminated. But in this scenario, the votes are rigged and the votes work. So now, he rigs the votes and succeeds in getting rid of Cameron. Episode 9, it starts off similar. Alejandro finds out about Mal, finds out about the DVD. You know, Mal tries to frame Alejandro. Alejandro spins it right back at Mal. Mal and Zoe still investigate the cabin without Cameron, but they still investigate the cabin and whatnot. And so that still happens. Scott and Courtney get together, and but there are some differences. So first of all, because there's no Cameron will never get upset at Gwen, and so that whole thing doesn't happen. Also to know then, so in this particular episode, Crystal gets captured. Mal's just gonna go along with Zoe. Normally Mal would go with Cameron, but since Cameron's gone, Mal might as well try and hang out with Zoe and Gwen, which Gwen would join along with him. Because Gwen tries to join Scott and Courtney, she gets rejected by them, Alejandro rejects her, she joins Zoe and Mike. Duncan, he's just gonna go by himself. Yes, Zoe is his friend, I suppose, but he doesn't really want to be with Mal, because he's still suspicious on all that, and he doesn't really want to be with his ex either. So he's just by himself. And then Courtney and Scott are together, and Alejandro is also by himself. So, of course, you sort of have, everyone getting snatched up and stuff. And to be honest, I'm gonna say, yes, even if Cameron wasn't there, I'm still gonna say Gwen wins immunity here. And even if Gwen doesn't win immunity here, the votes are gonna be... pretty much Alejandro's gone. No matter what. Unless he wins immunity here, because no one trusts Alejandro. So it doesn't matter whether Gwen wins immunity or Courtney wins immunity or whatnot, Alejandro's still going home. The only difference that they make is who they would send to Boney Island, and if Gwen wins immunity, I think she'd probably send that Duncan. Now, of course, there are some other differences. For example, it's also known that Cameron never kisses Courtney, and so Courtney and Scott never break up in this episode already. So, hey, the relationship actually lasts longer than half an episode, that's cool. Of course, when Alejandro's eliminated, he still mentions about the DVD, and all the greater evil and stuff, the arts on the walls. And so at this point, Alejandro mentions this, and Duncan immediately knows, oh, this is Alejandro's talking about Mal. Because Zoe's a little bit clueless for some reason. Zoe thinks Courtney's the greater evil or whatever. Duncan's like, nah, I'm pretty sure Alejandro's talking about Mal here, so that's something different. Episode 10. So episode 10 is largely going to play the same, except obviously Courtney and Scott are together. Obviously Courtney's never confronted about the whole Cameron kissing thing since it never happened, so Scott and Gwen are more loyal to Courtney. Duncan works with Zoe, tries to swear as much as possible that Mao's bad. Mao, obviously, he's at this point he's going to be aware that Duncan cannot be trusted, and so Mao tries everything in his power to try and get rid of Duncan. So that happens, and the episode ends. Zoe will win immunity still, and Duncan will go home because, yeah, sure, Mao was trying to hurt Duncan and stuff, so obviously Mao would want to get rid of Duncan, but also Courtney, Scott, and Gwen are huge fans of Duncan, and they don't really want to vote everyone else. I mean, you can even have the thing where Duncan tries to warn Gwen and Courtney that Mao's bad, and they just laugh him off again. Either way, Duncan is gone here, and so yeah, Duncan, at this point, he's just like, Zoe, you're an idiot, your boyfriend is Mao. But hey, look, it's the exact same final five as last time, so this should be pretty easy, right? Alright? Should, Courtney, then, Gwen, Scott, and then you get the finale. Totally. That's what I thought at first as well. But then the more I thought about it, the more I realized, no, it's not that obvious. It's just not that obvious. Because there are a few differences. Yes, Courtney still makes the chart. Yes, Mao still finds the chart somehow, somewhere, who knows. Because there are different things here, Gwen will still be upset. But the difference will be Scott. Because in this, right now, Scott and Courtney are still together. Courtney and Scott are still together. They've been together for pretty much 2 episodes at this point. They've had more time to bond. Sure, I do think Scott will be upset initially about the rat tail thing, but I think Scott will actually forgive Courtney pretty quickly. And so Courtney and Scott can work together. Courtney will, obviously after this, will try and get Gwen to forgive her, be like, please forgive me, and stuff like that. The winner of the challenge obviously was originally meant to be Courtney. Challenge switches up. Zoe ends up winning. Zoe ends up winning immunity. These 4. And now this is the change. So pretty much, you still sort of the conversation where Gwen's like, hey, if you want to gain my trust back, I'll vote for Scott, and you vote for yourself. Courtney's like, well, no, me and Scott are going to vote for Mike. You should join us and vote for Mike, or Mao. And to be fair, I think Mao would be more suspicious here than in canon, because of Duncan being like, Mao's bad. Sure, that Gwen and Courtney might not believe it, but what if I have a chance Duncan is right? Obviously, Zoe would be a little bit more suspicious. I don't think Mao has revealed himself yet, but it's a bit harder for him to hide, I suppose. So Courtney and Scott are like, we're going to vote for Mike, and you should join us too. And then Gwen's like, alright, I'll vote for Mike if you vote for yourself. And Courtney is just like, whatever. And this is where it changes. So, in canon, I think what most likely happens is that Mike and Zoe vote for Mike, Zoe, and Scott vote for Courtney, and then Courtney and Gwen vote for Scott, and then Courtney's gone. However, in this particular situation, it's a bit different because now Scott's going to vote with Courtney, and so Gwen and Scott are going to vote for Mike. Mike and Zoe are going to vote for Courtney, and if this is where there's sort of 2 different scenarios, Courtney does vote for herself here. Then Courtney will go home, and then it will pretty much play out the same. It'll be Gwen, Scott, and the whole thing's pretty much the same. However, Courtney doesn't vote for herself, and instead betrays Gwen, votes for Mike or Mal, whatever, then Mal's gone. And I do think this is the more likely scenario. However, there is also, if you think Courtney does vote for herself, then it's pretty much the same as regular All-Stars anyways, and I mean, I want this video to be a bit more interesting than that, so yeah, Mal's gone, episode 11, and now we've got the final 4. This is where things get tricky, because who wins? Who loses? We never know. Yes, Mal has to find the Guild Chris or whatever, but we never know where that even is. So what I think happens is I think Courtney will go to where Gwen is. She's got to try and find the painting or whatever. Courtney will try and think maybe it's in here. Courtney will not sabotage Gwen. Courtney will just try and get Gwen's good side. I'm really sorry, but I needed to Gwen's not really gonna take too much crap, but it's a little hard to say. It's up to you whether Gwen's forgiving of Courtney or not. But either way, they look for it. Gwen still smears a penny in bear poop. Courtney never finds her guilt at Chris. Scott, I think Scott. I mean, here's the thing. Gwen's still going home for the bear poop thing. Yeah, sure, Courtney won't be back with anything. But if you think about it in canon, Scott never brought anything back either. And in this case, Scott isn't sabotaged by Mal or anything, but whether Scott gets the bloody diamond or not, Gwen's bear poop scenario still sends her home, and I still think Zoe wins this again. Sure, it might be a bit close between Scott and Zoe, but I still think Zoe wins. Not even an interesting decision. Zoe's gonna bring someone to the finale, and it's now Courtney and Scott rather than Mal and Scott. Of course, Zoe is a bit disheartened. She wanted to get Mike back. You know, that's not happening. So she has to pick someone for the finale, and she, I think, does pick Scott. Courtney is kind of not treated Zoe very well this season, and Scott's also realized Scott's been pretty good this season overall. He hasn't been too much of a dick to anyone and whatnot. So Zoe forgives Scott and decides to bring him to the finale. Also, Zoe's a bit more familiar with Scott. You know, they had been on a previous season and whatnot together. So I think Courtney ends up being eliminated here. The third place, and then the finale is Zoe vs. Scott. Obviously, they'd be anything for most. Zoe's helpers would most likely be Gwen and Cameron still, and Scott's helpers, who the hell knows? One thing I noticed is that Mal's helpers tend to be the two biggest villains of the show, and Mal's a villain, and you could do the same thing for Scott, but I think it'd be more interesting if it was Scott brought back Courtney and Scott brought back Mal. So you could still have the whole Mal versus Zoe thing going on, while you've got the Courtney Gwen thing going on, and obviously you'd have Courtney rooting for Scott to win, maybe try to get some money out of Scott. Obviously, you know, you can sort of see, you can sort of see how that could be interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much how that would go. You'd have an ending where Zoe wins the money, maybe splits off with Mike, maybe, I don't know, and then you could have an ending where Scott wins, maybe splits with Courtney. Again, I mean, they're still together in this, so yeah, that's what would happen if Duncan never blew up Chris's mansion in Total Drama All Stars. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already.